Now back to Smoke on the Water for more Straight Up with Sturge.
Welcome back in. 8:24 on this Monday night edition of Straight Up with Sturge, coming to you live from Smoke on the Water. Now we go to the guest line. We bring on the great Jeremy Crabtree, senior writer for ESPN's RecruitingNation.com. Probably hasn't slept in a few days and probably not anticipating much sleep through about Wednesday or Thursday. Jeremy, how are we doing tonight?
Probably won't get to sleep until Saturday. Let's just put it that way.
Saturday?
But I'm headed in there. I'm in Kansas City, and between preparing for the whole big national signing day, we're about ready to get a foot of snow here. So we're in full snow apocalypse mode.
Well, I hope you guys have somehow signed a sponsorship deal with Monster Energy or 5 Hour Energy or something like that, because it sounds like you're going to need it this week. But, Jeremy, let's start since we're on Clemson's flagship station. What are your thoughts on this Tigers recruiting class as we head into signing day? Because there's still 3 players on the board for Clemson. You know, one maybe is Flip from Tennessee that's been committed. But, you know, it really looks like it's another Clemson and Florida State dominated class in the ACC.
Yeah, and that's no surprise. I mean, they are the 2 premier programs in the conference right now as far as wins and losses and national prestige, and they can walk into virtually any high school in the Southeast and turn a kid's attention. No question about that at all. We've got Florida State as the number 3 program overall in our national rankings on ESPN's Recruiting Nation, and we have Clemson at number 13. You look at the list, and if a couple of these guys maybe come Clemson's way on signing day, they certainly could sneak into the national top 10. But even if they don't, as a Tiger fan, I would be very excited about this class. There's a lot of positives. I think they did a good job of filling a lot of needs. So come Wednesday, if I'm a Tiger fan, I'm very happy.
Yeah, and then maybe one of the bigger announcements coming down the line for Clemson, Jeremy, is the fact that they may get their first commitment for the 2015 class. In my opinion, you know, all the prospects this year are great, but it may be Clemson's first 5-star offensive lineman in quite a while, and that's Mitch Hyatt of Sewanee, Georgia, 6'6", 270. Happens to be the nephew of a former Clemson defensive lineman. But would you say, judging this year's class, knowing that the Tigers lost 2 offensive linemen for their career to injury, that an onus will be put on the offensive line in 2015?
Yeah, no question. And you do look at that is one area in the 2014 class they were a little light on. And, with all this, I mean, it was very apparent. They knew they needed to go out there and get skill players. They knew they needed to go get a future quarterback. They knew they had to replenish the receiver corps. I mean, there was no question they knew that they needed to do that. I think they hit home runs at that. And they had to address other positions. The running back spot was big, and I think they got 2 really good ones. I think Adam Choice is a steal out of this state of Georgia in this year's class. So, if you look, offensive line, and I think especially maybe defensive end, look to be some priority positions for 2015. And hey, why not have somebody like Mitch Hyatt be maybe the ringleader in the class, the number 1 player in the state of Georgia, our number 4 player overall in the ESPN Junior 300. He's a monster of a man, and would be a huge early get for the Tigers.
Now, Jeremy, when you look around the ACC for this signing class on Wednesday, Miami's sitting at number 8 overall. Maybe the surprise to me, as I mentioned to you, is Virginia still sitting at 23. That being said, Mike London goes into this year maybe the hottest seat in the ACC. And I think the only reason he's coming back this year is they couldn't afford at Virginia to have 3 football coaches on the payroll at the same time. What do you make of, Miami, and the fact that I still have issues with them? There's no home stadium, and I think that holds that program back. But Virginia also, a 5-star recruit at wide receiver chooses the Cavs, yet they don't really have a quarterback except Grayson Lambert, who's going to be a sophomore. I find Virginia to be fascinating at number 23.
Yeah, and you know what? The Virginia's buoyed by a tremendous in-state crop this season. If there was any year that you could say it is the year in the state of Virginia, it's this season. They did a tremendous job of going out there and addressing some needs that with in-state kids. But then also, I think they might have an answer at quarterback. Corin Cutler is a prep school kid coming from Fort Union Military. He's a 4-star prospect, and certainly he's getting an opportunity to play pretty quickly. But the ringleaders in this class are Andrew Brown, the number 1 defensive tackle in the country, and Quinn Blanding, the number 1 safety in the country. Both of those guys are 5-star recruits. So they did really, really good there. Now, as far as Miami, they have to win the battles in their own backyard. They have to recruit well in the state of Miami, as they like to call it. And they've had some ups and downs. They've lost some kids to Florida State. They've had some other schools come in there and cherry-pick a couple of their guys away. But they're also in a position maybe to flip a couple kids around National Signing Day. They're involved with J.C. Jackson, one of the nation's premier athletes / cornerbacks who's committed to the Gators. If they can get him to flip, that would be a nice buoy. So I think there's a chance that Miami could climb, but still they have a hard time recruiting when they're going head-to-head against Florida State, because Florida State is the premier program in the state of Florida right now.
Yeah, and speaking of Florida State, do they still have a chance to really trend upwards? Because I was looking at the top 15 uncommitted prospects for Wednesday. The Seminoles are in on about 4 of them, and if those break the Seminoles' way, could you see them moving up over Texas A&M, who y'all have at number 2, and then Alabama at number 1?
I don't think anybody's got enough firepower left to knock Alabama off the top spot. I mean, that Alabama class, it might be the best class that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 recruiting cycles, including arguably the best offensive line class in modern recruiting. I mean, you can't go back and there weren't recruiting rankings around in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s to compare, but certainly in the modern era of recruiting, the Tide have the best offensive line class around. But if you look at what's left on the table at Texas A&M and what you look on the table, what they have left at Florida State's going to lose a couple kids. They're going to lose Treon Harris probably to Auburn. They're going to lose probably JoJo Robinson to Arkansas. But still, look at what they have left. They can flip a guy or get another guy to come on board. I have a feeling the Noles will be our number 2 class once the smoke clears on signing day.
All right, we're talking with Jeremy Crabtree, senior writer for ESPN's Recruiting Nation. Do yourself a favor, head to your computer, follow him on Twitter at Jeremy Crabtree. Now, as we flip to the Southeastern Conference a little bit, that's the big bad neighbor to the south and the west for Clemson fans. 9 of y'all's top 20 schools are SEC schools. Kentucky's number 20, and what a job by Mark Stoops and crowd. But what about South Carolina sitting at number 27, and according to y'all's rankings, the 10th best class in the SEC? Does that surprise you or cause any worries for you for South Carolina moving forward in the future? Because it's been a perfect time for them to make the move toward the top of the SEC East due to the fact that Florida and Tennessee have also been down.
Yeah, and you're right. I thought this might be their year to break through this season, especially. I got a chance to watch them play in person against Arkansas, and of course, I don't know, Arkansas wasn't great this year, but they looked tremendous in this game. I think what you look at this Gamecock class, it should not be judged on the numbers. I mean, they knew coming in this was going to be a small class from a numbers standpoint. They're at 18 commitments right now. They're going to probably get another 2 or 3 guys. They've got like 5 guys left on their board, so the number is going to be smaller. And when you're judging classes that have higher quality and higher quantity, the classes that have the higher quantity often come out if you rank higher when you're doing a team ranking system. But if I'm South Carolina, I'm not really that worried that when I look and see the other teams up there, because I look individually at this class, and I think Steve Spurrier did a very, very nice job of addressing a lot of needs. They knew they needed to go out there and get defensive linemen. They knew they needed to address the needs at cornerback, and I think they hit some home runs at that position. So while you're not going to see South Carolina in the top 25 probably, and you probably won't see them near the top of the SEC, but if you're a Gamecock fan, you still have to be pretty pleased with the quality of this class, just not a lot of quantity.
Well, one player in particular, do you think there's a chance that Bryson Allen Williams, who has been a longtime commit to South Carolina, may end up in Georgia signing Wednesday? He says he's 99.9% committed to South Carolina. That being said, his mom has put out some information that if I'm a Carolina fan, I might be a little concerned with.
Yeah, no, it's at that 0.1% that I've learned over the year 15, 16 years that I've been covering recruiting makes things interesting on signing day. And yeah, certainly Bryson's one of the storylines that I think everybody in the country is going to be paying attention to. He's supposed to announce around 10 a.m. On Wednesday, and if you're already committed, why do you really need to have a big press conference and do a bunch of announcements? I do think that certainly there's a good chance he flips to Georgia, an in-state kid. Family would like to see him stay a little bit closer to home, and that would be a big hit because certainly anytime you have a top 300 player, a top 10 linebacker in the country, a kid that has been committed since April 15th of 2013 flip on the last second, it's really stings. So I know the Gamecocks are doing everything they can to try to keep him solidified, but certainly, kind of one of those if there's smoke, there's fire that mindsets with me.
All right, Jeremy, give me an example of a school that here in the last 10 days is trending upward. I don't know if you consider Nebraska part of that mix. I think they had 6 commitments this weekend, decided to go to Nebraska. But give me a couple examples of schools trending upward and trending downward as we get close to signing day on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a couple teams that that aren't in our top 25 right this second that should be and most likely will be there on signing day, I look at USC. There's 4 of the top players in California have yet to make their decisions, and there's so much firepower left out there in the West. I think Steve Sarkisian closes really strong, and I think the Trojans end up in our top 20 somewhere. I also keep an eye at his crosstown rival at UCLA. UCLA is involved with some high-quality prospects that could see them push up the charts. I also think Arkansas is another team that could trend upwards also. On the disappointment side, I'll say this, and I mean this with a lot of flattery, I think that this will be Derek Mason's worst recruiting class while he is the head coach at Vanderbilt. He inherited a dumpster fire, and James Franklin went after a lot of the kids that were previously committed to Vanderbilt. He only had 2.5 weeks to go out there and try to piece together a class, and he's done some good things, but still, they're not. They've not done everything that you thought that this class potentially looked like it could do. But I think Derek Mason long term is going to be a great fit at Vanderbilt, and another very big disappointment is Rutgers. Rutgers lost 12 decommitments at one point through the recruiting process, and they were one of the top 3 teams in the new. When they were going to the Big Ten, it looked like they were going to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten. It was a great year in the state of New Jersey. 13 4-star players. They did not end up landing any of the in-state high-profile prospects, and losing 12 commitments, no coaching changes. That rings alarm bells to me.
Yeah, well, what about Oregon? Right now they're sitting at 25 in y'all's list, 18 commitments. I mean, you got 34 by Tennessee, 27 by Florida State. Is that an indictment on maybe some people are a little bit unsure about Helfrich, following the legend of Chip Kelly, or is that just strictly a numbers thing? Because I'm not used to seeing Oregon down at number 25 when they've got one of the biggest athletic makers in Nike in their back pocket year in, year out.
Well, if you follow the Oregon, even under some of the heydays in Chip Kelly, they were never a top 10 recruiting type of system. I mean, they like to do a lot of player development, and they'll take some guys that, were 3-star guys that maybe by the time they were done were 4 or 5-star guys, but still, I think you did touch on something. I think Oregon also might be one of the disappointments to me, especially with all the turnover that we had in the Pac-12 when their recruiting rival, the Northwest Washington, had a coaching change, and we saw the coaching change at USC. I thought Oregon, with all their ties into Los Angeles, might do a little bit better, but they really haven't been able to turn the corner this season. And it's still some really good players in this class, and they might be able to pull a guy or two down the stretch. But right now, you could maybe label them maybe as a semi-disappointment. I don't know if they're a full-on disappointment. To me, it's hard to label a team in the top 25 a disappointment.
That's
totally.
right. Well, Jeremy, final question for you tonight is we know you got a lot of work to get to. Last year, the surprise was Ole Miss, and it's paying off for Hugh Freeze again this year. They're sitting at number 15. When all is said and done Wednesday night or maybe this weekend, who's going to be this year's Ole Miss that you look in that top 20 and go, I didn't really suspect to see them there when all was said and done?
Well, I mean, we touched on Kentucky.
Yep.
I don't think anybody would have ever predicted Mark Stoops with a 0-8 SEC record to be where they're at, a top 20 class. That they certainly have surprised a lot of people, and I think that they've done some good things. But how about Baylor? I mean, Baylor is a program that has been the little brother to Texas and Oklahoma, and even to an extent Oklahoma State here for years. But Baylor's got a top 20 class this year. They've landed two of the best playmakers in the state of Texas, 2 stars from East Texas. Katie, if you're looking for somebody in the Big 12 that's going to jump out right away next year, look for Katie Cannon, a receiver for the Bears. I really like Art Briles' class, and they've been a thorn in the side of the Longhorns and Sooners. So those two teams really jump out to me, and I think that Baylor should not miss a beat, but I think Kentucky has enough young talent that might be able to help them start to make that progress forward in the ever-tough SEC.
All right, Jeremy, tell people, they can follow you on Twitter at Jeremy Crabtree, but some things y'all have got going on this week and why to check into recruitingnation.com, because quite frankly, y'all are the best at what y'all do, and thank you for taking time to join us on a Monday night.
Well, we kind of consider National Signing Day one of ESPN's national sport holidays. I mean, yes, we just came off a big one here at the Super Bowl, but Signing Day is college football's future, and you get a chance to be excited about your team, no matter if you were 0-8 or if you were playing for the national championship. So we're going to have we have 11 hours of coverage on ESPNU on Signing Day, but we also have 12 hours of live chats. We're going to do some live broadcasts also on ESPN3. I think we're going to have upwards of around 20 players do their announcement with us either on ESPN.com or on ESPNU. So pay attention. Jump on to ESPN.com/recruiting, and there you go.
All right, Jeremy, after this weekend, get some rest, maybe a few weeks down the road. If anything goes haywire on Wednesday, we'll discuss it. But thank you for your time tonight. Keep warm. Listen, I know Roger Goodell's happy that snow was on the field this morning and not about 6 o'clock last night. Can you imagine those people trying to get out of that stadium last night if it hit a little bit earlier?
Yeah, it would have been absolute pandemonium. Of course, I think there were a lot of people already out of the stadium after the game yesterday.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you for your time. Look forward to watching all your work this week. Again, you're one of the best, to keep up the good work.
Thank you, man.
All right, appreciate that. That's Jeremy Crabtree, the senior writer for ESPN's Recruiting Nation. Again, follow him on Twitter at Jeremy Crabtree. This guy's been at it for 6 months now. And if you really want to read an interesting article that he took place with about a month ago, he spent a week on the road with some junior college coaches from, I believe it was Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, one of the premier junior college programs out there. And you know, we hear about Dabo Swinney and Spurrier getting on the airplanes to go see these recruits. Well, check out what some of these junior college coaches have to go through when they're out on the road. Jeremy did a fantastic job on that article. Very, very fascinating work. And, again, you can follow him on Twitter at Jeremy Crabtree. All right, before we go out to break, don't forget about our good friends at Rogers Outdoor Equipment. Go ahead and mark down Tuesday, February 25th. That's Customer Appreciation Day at Rogers Outdoor Equipment. There'll be barbecue sandwiches being given away, but guess what? It's the best day of the year for you to come shop at Rogers Outdoor Equipment. I mean, for all you landscape guys and people that work in that business, it is the primo day to come into Rogers Outdoor Equipment. Great sales going on. And again, if you need some stuff winterized before the spring gets here, now's the time to do it. Because if you wait until March or April, guess what? You may have to wait 2 or 3 days on your equipment because everybody else is doing the same thing. Go ahead and head that problem off at the pass. Get your stuff out there now. Get it back. It'll be ready to go. I mean, hey, it was 70 degrees today, so you never know. All you have to do is go I-85 to exit number 32, go 1.5 miles west at the intersection of Highway 8 and 81. You're going to run into Rogers Outdoor Equipment, where they've been doing business in that same location since the 1950s. And again, Tuesday, February 25th, James Turn, Will Quackenbush, and myself will be out there at Rogers Outdoor Equipment broadcasting live. So make that part of your day. Come get some lunch. And, again, come deal with some of the best people that you'll ever deal with when it comes to outdoor equipment. That's why Rogers Outdoor Equipment is the Upstate's ultimate power equipment dealer. Phone lines are open here in the final segment. We are WCCP Talk Sports 104.9 FM, the flagship station of Clemson Athletics.